Hi, everyone. I'm excited to be here today to talk to you about some of the miracle stories that are happening right here in our own city, in our own state, every day. My name is Tony Kausha, and the title of our show is Tony's 50,000 Coincidence Miracles. Please note, this show is not about religion, and we're not trying to change anyone's religion, and we're not trying to get you to join any religion. It's just about miracle stories. I don't know of any religion on the planet that doesn't talk about miracles. That's why religions begin, because they have something that's telling them there's really a God. But we're not going to get into that. We're going to just talk about miracles and leave the decisions about all that up to you. So we don't care what religion you are. We just want to talk about miracles. If you are an atheist, I think you'll enjoy the program as well, although I can't guarantee you'll remain an atheist very long after you hear many convincing stories, coincidence kinds of stories about miracles. You can email me your own stories if you wish. We'll try to use all we can on the show. I can't guarantee we will, depending on volume and time, but you're welcome to send your stories on to us, and we will mention them when we can. You can send them to the following email address. But please notice that if we do use your story, we won't mention your name. We'll keep you anonymous. And we suggest that in your story, when you send it to us, don't use your correct name. That way anyone listening will not be able to figure out that it was you that sent the story in. The email address you can send your stories to is very easy to remember. It consists of 2 words and 3 numbers. The first word is Tony, spelled Tony, and the second word is and, spelled A-N-D, and the numbers are 777. So once again, the name is Tony and 777 at AOL.com. Well, let us begin. Our first coincidence miracle today has to do with the postings that I place on Facebook and LinkedIn during the week. Postings I get inspired to put on there by God. We're all supposed to be talking to God every day and asking Him what to do about many things. And so I often, when I'm talking to Him, I'll get inspired to post something on Facebook or LinkedIn. And one particular day, I was inspired to post something that was kind of heavy, a heavy topic. It was just to briefly and simply suggest to people that we should all, including me, we should think once in a while about where are we on this pathway to heaven. Are we headed in the right direction? Are we trying to become better every day? Or are we just so busy and swamped with, day-to-day life things that we don't even think about it, and maybe we're slipping down a slippery slope and getting worse every day, God forbid, but that can happen. We can just be so busy trying to make money to live that we don't realize we're doing bad things, and God forbid again, but that can happen. And the devil is certainly around to tempt us and help us to tell us, well, you're so busy, that happened because you're busy, and it's not your fault. And, the devil's always telling you it's not your fault, because he just wants you to keep doing whatever you're doing that's not good. So in any event, it's a heavy topic, and all I was trying to do is just follow my inspiration from God to get people to think about our final days. Are we going to go to heaven or not? And if not, what can we do to help get us there? So after I posted it, I felt I was inspired correctly, and I had prayed carefully, and I had that familiar feeling I've had for 50 years now. When God is talking to us, we can tell He's talking to us because an amazing peace comes over us. If the devil is talking to us, we don't feel that same peace. The Bible calls it, or the Christians call it, the peace that surpasses understanding, because you can't even explain it. When you feel that peace, you'll know it's God talking to you. So I felt peaceful, but after I posted it, then it was too late. Once you push the button and it's posted, it's posted. Well, there's a correction. You could delete it, but by then, 1,000 people could have seen it. So in any event, I did that, and then afterward, I started to feel negative. I found out later it was the devil, because when I was feeling negative, I went to talk to Jesus about it, and Jesus inspired me that he did inspire me to send it, and he gave me signs and clues that it was what he wanted me to post. And, I even got confirmations by opening the Bible and reading some scriptures at random, so I should feel confident. And then he said, why don't you just go open the radio? And I didn't get any reason why. It was just a thought, why don't you open the radio? And I thought, well, I guess, might be something nice on the radio. Usually he sends me clues that way. When he says put the radio on, I always get something wonderful. So I put the radio on, and here's what happened. As soon as I put the radio on, the song that was being sung was called How Far Is Heaven? Very beautiful song. I'm sure you've heard it. So the song keeps repeating, how far is heaven, how far is heaven? So the song and the lyrics and the person singing is considering, good and bad and how far is heaven. And God told me to put the radio on because that's what my posting for Facebook and LinkedIn just was about and what I was troubled about. So that's a perfect match, coincidence. I mean, I after 53 years, I'm just so bewildered that God keeps doing this for me. But he's made me an expert. God has made me an expert at citing these kinds of things and telling other people. If it happens once in your life, okay, you could say maybe it's a coincidence. But after 53 years, I have to tell you, this has happened to me. Turned the radio on and the record was playing exactly what I was thinking or exactly what God wanted to tell me. I mean, this has happened at least 25 times in my life, so it's not just one coincidence. And since it's always happening after God tells me to put the radio on, that's conclusive evidence. It's not that I decided. I get inspired, turn the radio on, and then that happens. And for your info, it's also in the Bible that God confirms things. People don't know this. A lot of people don't know this, but the Bible says that God shows by events and signs and wonders, God shows that he's involved in the actions we're doing for him. So we do things for him, and when we do that, we see signs and wonders to confirm it. And you can read all about this in one sentence, just one sentence in the Bible. It's in the book of Mark. You can't forget that, right? It's like a bookmark. So in the book of Mark, chapter 16, verse 20. Okay, so I encourage you to read that. Mark 16:20 says that God shows us these clues that he's working with us. This is probably a good time to remind you that you can listen to any of our shows from the past. It's well over a year now. So you can listen to any of our shows if you go to our website. So I'll give you that address. It's simple to remember. The address is wcatradio.com/miracles/ again, W, which stands for worldwide, CAT, C-A-T, which stands for Catholic. So it's wcatradio.com/miracles/. And one last time, wcatradio.com/miracles/. Okay, listen to any of the shows from the past. It's all free. And a reminder of the kinds of things God is showing us clues about. I told you about book of Mark, chapter 16, verse 20. Mark 16:20 shows you God is always blessing us with signs when we're helping him and doing things with him. But just to remind you of other things, you hear songs on the radio, we see a movie, the movie tells us something, confirms what we're thinking about. We might have a dream, then we see a movie about the same topic. The mailbox has things in it for us every day. Newspapers have things you'll see, and it'll remind you what you're thinking. You've been thinking about something for 3 days, and you see it on the front page on Friday. Daily news on the radio or television could match what you thought was going to happen. You get ideas all day long, ideas, and the word idea is 2 words. It's I and Deo. I is me, and Deo is the Latin word for God. So you get ideos, ideas. That's coming from God, often, inspirations. You get dreams. And opening the Bible at random is a great way to stay in touch with God during the day. Maybe 3 times a day, just open the Bible at random and read 2 lines and see what it tells you. Many of the saints did that with great, great results. And I've never been let down either. When I open the Bible at random, I always get something that's worth reading, 2 or 3 lines. Our next coincidence miracle reminds us how God is always sending us clues all the time, and even the smallest details. And you've heard stories like this before, but my role is to help everybody consider the tiniest things. Don't look for spectacular things. The spectacular things you don't have to look for. They're right in your face. Look for the tiny things. For example, I was inspired by God to go shopping for groceries at a certain time one day. It was different than my usual time, but I was inspired, so I did what I was inspired to do, and that's what we should do. Change our plans if our inspiration is different. So I went the time that he said I should go, and when I got to the parking lot of the supermarket, I pulled in, and there was one parking spot open right in the front, and I went to pull into that place, and the car in front of that spot, because it was 2 lanes parked back to back, the car in front of that spot had a license plate number 555. Now, if I didn't leave at that time and go shopping at that moment, I wouldn't have had that happen. And the number 35 stands for the presence of God, the grace of God. So that was a nice, we can call it a tiny thing, but, in my life, I tell people, I don't care how small it might look to somebody, everything God does for me is a glorious, big miracle to me because He's very big. So everything He does, in my opinion, is very big. So I'll let other people call it a tiny thing, but for me, the tiny things are huge because I've had so many of them, and I know it's God doing it. And the other part of this miracle was that when I was finished shopping, on the way out, the first car I saw as I was pulling out had a license plate number 444, which is the number that reminds us of the Mother of Jesus, the Blessed Virgin Mary. So I thought I'd share that with you because it's a thing that happens. Why? Because I went shopping at the time that God said to go shopping. Our next coincidence miracle was I was inspired one day to send a couple of emails to friends of mine who are evangelists. They preach and they write letters as well. They also give lectures. And so I've been part of that. I've gotten some of their writings and I've been to some of their lectures. And so I was encouraged to encourage them and remind them of some of the things I've heard them do and how it impacted me and made a favorable impression on me. And so I was inspired to do it by God. I just didn't come along and do it on my own. And I felt it was a good thing to do. So I did it. And then later I went to the daily meditations. I have a book I go to for daily meditations. It's called Word Among Us magazine. And in there that day, on that specific day, it was explaining how those of us who do work at, trying to spread the Word of God and spread the knowledge of God, we do need to encourage each other and help each other to stay strong and, tell each other when we're doing good things and bad things. So that was a great confirmation because now, again, I did what God told me to do, and I got a great confirmation by just going to my normal meditations as planned. God knew I was going to do that. He knew I would read those meditations at that moment, so God had planned this whole event, really. Our next coincidence miracle was there's a very early, extremely early radio show on, and I wanted to set the alarm to wake up early to go listen to it one day, and I had forgotten to set the alarm. Well, the next morning, I woke up precisely like 4 minutes before the show and got to turn the radio on and listen to it. And that's another case of God reminding us to do things to help us notice Him. The next coincidence miracle was when I was signing up for my COVID shots for the COVID virus. As everybody knows, the computers were all messed up and you couldn't get in. I tried for several days. I gave up in frustration. And one day I gave up, and a half hour later, God said, go back and check now. A half hour later, I said, Lord, I just checked. He said, trust me, check now. And I went back and I could get in. I got right in and booked my time for my shot. So again, God got involved with this tiny moment, told me when to go. There was an opening, and openings were filling up quickly. So if I didn't go when He said, I would have missed the opportunity. God bless you all. I'll talk to you next week.